Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? While the Saints are kind of going through the rest of this offseason preparing for training camp, there's one thing that is a great unknown, and it's the unknown has got to be unsettling, and that's what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. So every time anyone with the Saints organization speaks about this, we're obviously going to talk about it. And Mickey Loomis was a guest on the Datitude podcast, and they talked about a lot of stuff, and he did, in fact, talk about Kamara as well. A couple of bites. First, their sort of approach right now with the Kamara situation.
I think for me, what I always try to do is, what's the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario, and then we really just have to wait and see what happens. And yet we have to be prepared for anything, and I think that's really the way we approach anything and everything is be prepared for anything that can happen. And look, I don't know enough, but I don't have enough of the details to be able to project what could or couldn't happen. I know that there's a hearing later this summer, and so we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
So Loomis said there, his approach is always to prepare for the best case and the worst case. There's a hearing. They're going to wait and see what happens. But he doesn't know. The other party, they followed him. This was a good question, was about the legal process, because remember, Alvin Kamara's got his attorneys, but are the Saints involved in that part of it at all?
I think the process in Las Vegas has to work itself out before the league, does their process. So, there's generally two steps. The first is the legal matter, and then the second is obviously, the league. And so we're not really involved in either one of those.
So as the timeline plays out, you're going to see what happens in Las Vegas first, and then the NFL will react. If the Las Vegas hearing keeps getting bumped back further and further, you wonder when league discipline might come down. It is worth mentioning that league discipline can come down even if Kamara is cleared of any wrongdoing. By the nature of the way the rule is written under the personal conduct policy, it's not necessarily tied to the legal result. So, look at, for example, there's no commentary here, but the Deshaun Watson situation. The league is preparing to suggest penalties against Deshaun Watson, even though there were no criminal charges brought against him. A grand jury twice, two different grand juries failed to indict him. So, again, this is not a commentary on the case or the evidence or whatever you may think of it. The point being, the league can still punish even if there's no criminal charges. So it certainly feels as though Alvin Kamara is going to be punished, and he'll very likely face a 6-game suspension. The other part of what Loomis said there about the best case, worst case, that's the interesting part for me. He says, I always prepare for a best case and a worst case. Well, what do both a best case and a worst case look like? Well, the best case is Alvin Kamara is cleared, the charges are dropped, there's no punishment, he's healthy, plays a full season, is awesome, and Mark Ingram drinks from the fountain of youth, and you hit a total grand slam with undrafted rookie free agent Abram Smith, and you have this three-headed monster that stays healthy and productive, and you have the best running game in the league. Like, that's a best case, right? I also think that's unrealistic. And then what's the worst case? Well, the worst case is Kamara gets 6 games or more, Ingram is done, and Abram Smith has 2 left feet. That's a worst case. And so then you're sitting there with no real options this season at running back. As is the case with so many things, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. I think Kamara is going to get 6 games. We've talked about that enough. But the real answer is, how productive is Kamara in the, let's say, 11 games that he's available? And when he's not, can you get enough productivity out of Abram Smith and Mark Ingram? Because it looks like that's the tandem that they're going to have to use because of their inability to successfully court a free agent in this offseason. It's going to be a gigantic question. But, we saw Deontay Harris last year serve his DUI suspension late in the season. Maybe the same thing happens for Alvin Kamara. Maybe you get a really productive Alvin Kamara for 10 weeks, and you get a chance to cultivate some of that young talent, and then Kamara sits for a month thereabouts and comes back really healthy for a playoff run. I mean, that's plausible as well. But clearly what Loomis said is he always prepares for best case, worst case. He'll have scenarios, and he'll have options available. My big concern for the Saints is Kamara suspended, Ingram's no good anymore, Abram Smith doesn't pan out, and you're left really without options. Now, there's nothing I or you or we could do about it today, but if there's something that you would look at and say, okay, that could derail the offense, it's if that scenario unfolded. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.